This was my first real attempt at a planter tank, and as you can probably tell, I kind of let the tank go wild. The plants took over, and the guppies, well, let's just say they lived up to their reputation, and in just a few weeks, 3 of them turned into almost over 30 of them. So today we're going to be giving these guys a brand new home. Let's start from scratch and build these guys a natural underwater world where they can truly thrive in. So to kick off day one, I started by gently pulling out the plants I wanted to bring over to the new tank. I had to be super careful with the roots. If they get damaged, they might not survive the move. A quick peek at one of the few residents making the journey. You'll see more of these guys later on. I tried my best not to stir up too much of the mud, but unfortunately a cloud of dust still came up with the roots, so I had to act fast and get the fish out there before it turned into a mud soup. Once everything was out, it was goodbye to the old tank, and in comes the upgrade, a sleek 20-gallon lot. Gave it a quick rinse out to clear out any of the leftover shop dust, and got it prepped and ready for the first layer, which is going to be soil. Now, here's where it gets interesting. We're going to be using something called the Woolstead method. It's a natural aquarium setup that can run without a filter or regular water changes. Basically, it's a self-sustaining ecosystem. Nature just doing this thing. So I poured in the soil and gave it a soak to avoid any air pockets forming, and then I laid on the sand. At first I was cleaning the sand to avoid any dust, but after it taking so long just to do a few cups, I said forget it and just went full bag mode. I then recreated the little rock cave from the original tank. The fish loved hanging out in there, and honestly I just loved the aesthetic it gave. I then started to place the driftwood around, trying to make it look as natural as possible, giving it a flowing formation like nature had sculpted it itself over time. I then reused some of the old bits of wood from the old tank to make the cave look more embedded and to make it feel like it was always a part of this world. And now for the plants. Now honestly guys, I'm sorry to tell you, but I don't remember all of the names of these guys. I did get them quite a while ago. I know that there's 2 or 3 different types of Anubiuses there. There's definitely some water wisteria, but the rest of it is just gonna have to be some mystery greens. Now, if you guys do recognize any of this stuff, make sure you drop it down in the comment section below. Now, I planted everything before adding the water to avoid stirring up the substrate, creating a foggy mess, but it really didn't matter. I have no idea why I thought that would change anything because the water still went full fog mode anyway. Now, I should have rinsed off the sand better, but it really doesn't matter too much. Now, I've added on a hang-on back filter just to help clear it up a little bit, and a sponge filter for some aeration, and also just a heater to keep things cozy for my tropical crew. The plan was to let the tank sit overnight and see what we had tomorrow. But when morning came, one of our OGs, Star Platinum, just didn't make it. His fins had been getting nipped for days now, and I'm not sure who was behind it. It was probably some of the other female guppies. Now, it's actually why I started building this tank in the first place, to give everybody a bit more space, but I think it was just a little bit too much for him. Now, I do understand though, if my landlord kicked me out with my 6 wives and my 50 kids, then
what did he say?
And I mean, I probably wouldn't have survived the night either, mate. But don't worry, I got you, Star. Your family's in good hands now, mate. The next morning, the water was still cloudy, but life always finds a way. Bladder snails had hitchhiked on the plants that I planted the previous day, and it was time for a predator. That was a bit of a tongue twister there, not? Now look, enter the assassin snail. True to his name, he buries into the sand and waits for bladder snails to pass, and then strikes them with a toxin-loading proboscis, nature's tiniest assassin. With the assassin snail in place, it was time to add the cleanup crew, ghost shrimp. These guys are mostly see-through. They're super chill and they love scavenging. Now, I dropped in an algae wafer, and this is the first time I've given it to these guys, so some of them, as you can see, were a little bit unsure about it. But once that scent spread through the tank, a feeding frenzy began. Well, almost. It turned into an all-out free-for-all. Snippers were snapping, claws were cracking, all of them moving at lightning speed. My eyes could barely keep up. But one thing I can notice is that none of them are eating the food. What's going on here? A few days later, the tank was still cloudy. So I tossed in some Indian almond leaves to release some tannins and bring that sweet, sweet clarity. I also decided to add some horn water as well. It helps suck up the extra nutrients and also just fills out the space a little bit more. Then came the new mini predator, the scarlet baddis. Tiny, gorgeous, and super territorial. I accidentally purchased 3 males because at the time 2 of them were so dull that they looked like females. It turns out scarlet baddis males go pale to submit to more dominant ones. The redder the fish, the higher they are in the pecking order. Now, before I let the scarlet baddis pick their territory, it's time to feed the troops. Prepared some live baby brine shrimp in this hatchery. Super easy to make, just add water, salt, and some brine shrimp eggs, an egg stone, and then boom, you got yourself some live food. Feeding live foods to your fish, especially the predatory ones, is always going to be better than any dry foods like pellets and flakes. It carries way more nutrients and you get way more action, and it mimics what they do in the wild a lot more. The brine shrimp are definitely going to be a nutritional plus for the ghost shrimp, because as you can see, some of these guys are carrying eggs in their swimmer wraps. Despite my earlier worries, these 3 baddis seem to be getting along just fine. But once the food's gone, it's back to the battlefield on the hunt for territory. May the most dominant baddis win. Finally, it was time for the Guppy gang to move into their new home, and they instantly started scavenging the leftovers from the algae wafer like they were vacuum cleaners. Everything was finally in place. Everybody had their own space. It was finally time to just let nature do its own thing for a bit and see how the tank turns out in a few weeks. Turns out the home brought some friends, tiny floating plants that I didn't even know were there to begin with. But honestly, they add so much to the vibe, it really makes it feel like a real slice of wild nature. Now, I can already see some of you guys asking yourself, why is the tank water brown? This is because of the tannins that were released from the almond leaves and from the driftwood. Now, tannins possess antimicrobial and antifungal properties that can help prevent infections in fish and promote healing. Tannins can also support the growth of beneficial bacteria, which are crucial to the breakdown of organic waste and maintaining a healthy aquarium system. And yeah, it does make your tank look like a giant cup of tea, but I'm a British lad born and bred, and I happen to love myself a cuppa. All of the animals seem to look extremely healthy, and weirdly enough, 2 of the Guppy babies developed some red coloration. No idea how, since both of the parents were blue, but hey, nature's wild like that, right? Everything seemed to be going perfectly and everything was in full balance. But it was time to shake it up again. Alright guys, I got an eyesight test for you here now. Let me know if you guys can see the new addition to the tank. No? You guys missed it? Alright, look. Go get your reading glasses, let me run it back for you guys. Alright, there we go. Let me know when you guys can see it, yeah? Yeah? We all found it? Alright, I'm gonna just assume that was an all round yes, and I'm gonna zoom in now. Now, right here is the most fearsome, ferocious ambush predator in the entire fish keeping hobby. Nah, honestly, I'm just messing around with you. This is an African dwarf frog. They're practically blind, they can't hear well, and they navigate using their sense of smell that is honestly not too great either. But they really try, and honestly, they're hilarious to watch. Feeding them is a full-blown wrestling match. Once they grab the food, it's theirs. No takebacks. One even done a handstand while swallowing the worm after doing a backflip. Like, what the hell are you doing, bro? So even though African door frogs are fully aquatic, they do need to come to the surface to get a gulp of air every now and then, and I occasionally find them chilling on the plants or the rocks near the surface with their head peeked out, just getting themselves a bit of a rest. I also swapped out 2 pieces of wood for new ones that I felt blended better into the environment and fit the scene more. Eventually, over the next few days, the pieces of wood will darken up to fit the rest of the aesthetic. And I'm also pretty sure some of you guys have noticed this random orange fish. It is a baby molly that I rescued from a different tank a while ago, and he is the only survivor from his batch. I also noticed that when I look at the fish tank from the top, I can see a layer of algae forming on the glass that's not visible from the front, so I just gave it a quick scrub and a clean. And with that, the new home is complete. Everyone's settled in and the tank is alive. I can't wait to see what's in store for this ecosystem as it grows in the future. If you enjoyed the journey, drop a like and let me know in the comments what you loved and what you didn't. I'm here to grow with you guys, and I want to make my content as enjoyable for you guys as possible. This is the kind of content that you guys like. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next one.